Welcome back to Know and Grow. This week, in addition to Monday Minutes, we are making homemade bread. Now, I start off with whole wheat berries, and they look like this. I use a pail like this size that's easy access, but then I have a 5-gallon bucket because when I buy wheat berries, I buy either 25 pounds or 50 pounds at once. So I use a whole 5-gallon bucket, and that's stored in my closet. If you are going to get bulk whole wheat berries, what you want to do, you can get the regular lid, but the regular lid that comes with it or may not come with it, you might have to buy a lid to go with your 5-gallon bucket. Not all 5-gallon buckets have lids, but it can be, kind of hard to pull the tabs up and take it off. What's really nice is if you have one of these. And it looks like this. It comes in two parts. This ring goes over the rim of the bucket, and then this screws onto this. Can you see that? See how easy that is to unscrew, on? So this is a nice thing that you can use over and over again. No matter how many times you use your bucket, you have one of these to put on it. For every 1 cup of flour, you only need about 2/3 cup of wheat berries. So I am doubling my recipe. It calls for 3 cups of whole wheat flour, and I am doubling it. So I needed 6 of my 2/3 cup of wheat berries to put in my hopper. Let's see if I can get this over so you can see it. I hope you can see the hopper there. This is my mill right here, and I fill the hopper here and then turn my button on, and this is what it looks like. So I have my freshly milled flour, and it's important to use freshly milled flour because it loses its potency quickly. So if you have real berries, the initial product, the whole product, and you mill it, you have everything that's in that whole wheat berry. And that is so different than buying whole wheat bread or whole wheat flour. Let's go to whole wheat flour first. When you buy whole wheat flour at the store, what they have done is taken the wheat berry and they have removed all the bran and all of that part, and you're left with white dead flour. And then if they want to call it whole wheat, then they'll add back in some of that bran, but it's been processed at this point. It doesn't have the nutrients. They can't add back in exactly the way they took it out. And so you do not have the real wheat berry goodness when you buy even whole wheat bread at the store. It is not anything like freshly milled bread or flour. And as far as buying whole wheat bread, that's fine. I mean, I've done that a lot, but you don't have the goodness in that either. Again, they have taken out of the white flour or out of the wheat berry, they've taken out all the goodness, and then they add back in things to make the bread. And sometimes some of those things are kind of suspect. In order to make it high fiber, they add some stuff that you might be surprised about. So it is great to use freshly milled flour when you're baking bread. And I will be right back with getting started on making the bread. So hopefully what you can see here are my basic ingredients. I have a couple more here off to the side, but the ones I initially will add to my KitchenAid are these right here. Now, let me just read the recipe to you, and I will include the recipe in the description, but it includes warm water, milk, salt, brown sugar, softened butter, honey, ground ginger, citric acid, lecithin, and gluten, and whole wheat flour, and yeast. So now another time, maybe we'll do a recipe where you don't use the extra things like the gluten and the lecithin, that's that brown stuff here. I have some things mixed in here. I have my salt and my lecithin. I have some of these things mixed in here together, my pinch of citric acid. So another time, maybe we'll try it without the citric acid and the lecithin and the gluten and the ginger. But those things, those four things, I am using today. I'm still experimenting. I am a work in progress with this. So I'm going to pause it and move the camera over near my mixer. Okay, so I've moved all my ingredients over here to where my KitchenAid mixer is, and the recipe says to mix the first 9 ingredients. So I have my water and my milk here, and it's warmed. And I have my butter. Whoops. Oh, okay. And my brown sugar. And it's splashing up. And my honey. I might need the spatula for this. Let's see. Don't want to miss any of that honey. And you can make bread without all the sweetness and the butter. I do like the richness of adding the butter and the milk and the sweetener, but you can do it without that. And then again, this is a mix of the salts and the lecithin and the whatever else of the first 9 ingredients. Let's get that in. Okay. Now, it says just to mix these together. Let's wipe this up. I like things clean and neat. So just a quick stir. Okay, so that is stirred, and it says to put the rest of the ingredients in. Let's use the scoop, that makes it easy to do. Bread is hotly contested these days. You know that. So many diets like make bread the bad guy. There are these keto diets, and I'm not saying that they don't work. I think they do work for a lot of people, but I really don't think they're the kind of diet that you want to stay on the rest of your life. I'm not sure. To me, when you remove basic food groups, unless you have an allergy or you're celiac or something like that, but when you begin to completely remove basic food groups, and I go by what's in the Bible too, what they ate in the Bible, when you begin to remove all of that, I think you're just robbing yourself of the nutrients and also the ease and also the fiber that comes with whole grains. Let's just mix the rest of this in just like that. Okay. And it says to mix this, we're going to just stir it first. Oops, I forgot to add my gluten. So let's add that in. And I forgot to add my yeast in. It might be helpful to add the yeast. I hope you can hear me while that's stirring. But when you remove whole food groups, I think that can be quite dangerous. And it also, if you ever have to live through a time of scarcity, wheat berries is one of the best things to have on hand. You know, Joseph stored grain for 7 years that prepared them and many other nations for the scarcity of grain for the next 7 years. Grain stores very well. Like I told you about my 5-gallon bucket, I could have that for years and it would still work and it would still be nourishing. So I really think it's important not to completely take out food groups unless you're doing it for a period of time, maybe to jumpstart a diet or something like that. Okay, let's check this now. And again, I said that we will try a recipe another time that doesn't have those extra things. Like you might not want to buy lecithin, or you might not want to buy citric acid. You know, if you have vitamin C, you can take a vitamin C tablet and crush it. If you have a little one of these, you can just put it in and crush it. So you can still do the vitamin C. And I think the lecithin, if you have egg yolk. I think egg yolk does the same thing as lecithin. So again, if you want to have some of those things that kind of make your bread a little bit easier rise and a little bit, maybe a little bit more fluffy, again, egg yolk for lecithin, vitamin C tablet crushed. So those are two ingredients you don't have to buy right off the bat. I'm gonna bring this down the sides. Okay, what it's supposed to be doing is getting to the point where it pulls away from the sides. It's not doing it yet. So you are on an experiment with me. Okay, so what I did was I paused it and I had not measured out. Remember I said that 2/3 cup of wheat berries equals about 1 cup of flour, but then I did not actually measure that out when I put the flour in. So I'm not sure it was exact. And I'm very careful not, well, I have not been careful in the past to not add too much flour. I just kind of, well, it's not coming together, let's add more flour. And then I end up with bread that kind of crumbles. And it's hard for my husband when he's trying to make a sandwich. The bread crumbles on him, and then that's not a good thing. So I'm still trying to perfect it so that it might come out good as toast, but when you're trying to make a sandwich, it can crumble. That's if you add too much flour. So I was careful. I added some flour. I keep some white flour in my Folgers container, and then it began to pull off from the sides, and I beat it just a little bit, and now I'm letting it sit for a while because whole wheat flour it's good for it to absorb the liquid so that it softens. So I'm letting it sit for just a little bit. So here I'm going to wash my hands and get that flour off. And I just want to talk a little bit about how bread is the staff of life, and Jesus is the staff of life, and He is our daily bread. Oops, I have this long cord. I'm using I'm tangled. I'm going to be jumping rope with my cable here. I'm using one of these. Oops, using one of these, and I don't normally use that. A lavalier or a, what do you call it? Whatever, I forget what you call it. But anyway, bread is the staff of life, isn't it? Bread is used a lot in the scripture, and I just want to go over that a little bit with you while I'm letting this rest briefly. So, bread is something that's talked about a lot in scripture. Jesus multiplied the bread and the fish, remember? And he shared the bread in communion. It was bread and wine. And also, he talks about it being the bread from heaven. During Moses' time, they had manna, and it was something that fell from heaven. It wasn't exactly like our grain, it was something different, but still, it was on that same order. And it's a sort of a sign of fellowship, like the Bible talks about breaking bread, and when you have people over, often a meal will include bread. Bread is a basic in many communities or nations, I should say. Corn is a staple. In some parts of the world, rice is a staple. And in many parts of the world, wheat is a staple. And in America, we have all three, but wheat is very, very heavily used in America. And I think some of the reason why people aren't feeling well when they eat wheat is because they have been eating dead wheat, wheat that has been processed. And I have heard so many testimonies of people that have been healed of things and like their allergies have gone away, or I got to be careful not to bump this, or other things. And that is when they're eating freshly milled bread. And I'm going to include some links for you. There are two people, there's more than two, but there's two people I really like to listen to who really explain it really well, especially Sue Becker, Becker. Look up Sue Becker if you want to know more. And she also has, let me see, let me get my mouse. And she also has what's called Bread Beckers. Their company is Bread Beckers. And you will find so many tutorials and how she explains why wheat is good and why a lot of the stuff, the wheat wars, the grain wars that they're talking about now, why they're not really you really can't, they're not reliable because they're using data and methods that are wrong. They need to, if they were using freshly milled wheat or freshly milled whatever kind of grain, the health would be better and their results would be better. So Sue Becker, Bread Beckers. I also like Grains and Grit, and that is Felicia. I think her first name is Felicia. I forget her last name. So let's check our bread. I guess it's sat long enough to absorb. And we are going to then set it on number 2. Oops, days. Let's look at that now. You tell me, is that what it's supposed to look like? I sure hope so. I'm going to dump it out, make it in, just kind of ball it up here. And then I'm going to cut it in half and let it rise. Boy, this feels like this should really be a little more tacky. I do think I should not have added that little bit extra white flour I added. Oh, another loaf of crumbly bread from my husband. Honey, I'm so sorry. I am really trying. I'm trying to master this, but I am not, obviously, don't have it mastered yet. Okay. And see, it's even kind of coming apart. I think it was a little more tacky. Maybe it wouldn't. But anyway, I don't know. So we're going to try cutting it in half. I added too much flour. I should have measured it after I did the milling. I should have measured instead of just dumping that whole bowl in. And then I went and added white flour on top of it. Okay, I am going to use a couple tea towels. Well, actually I'm not, because I am hooked up. I am hooked up, and I'm not going to unhook just to go get my tea towels. So I will use a little bit of plastic. And then we're going to let it rise. We are back. We ended up unhooking and letting the dough rise out on the sun porch. And while it was rising, I cleaned up. It's nice to clean up as you go so you don't have such a big mess at the end. I formed the one loaf, and here is how I formed it. You just watch this. This is how I did it. I like to use Felicia's method of doing it. And here it is. But I really do think I did put too much flour in. So I decided that I would only make one loaf. I have it out now, sitting on the sun porch, rising. And I decided with the other half of the dough to maybe make cinnamon buns because, you know, you slather a bunch of butter on them, and maybe that would help counteract the dryness of the bread part, the dough part. You know, this is my theory anyway, that slathering it with butter is going to help make up for the dry part of the bread. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe if I put enough butter on it. Here's some more. Oh, that could be a little softer. That's not spreading so much. Oh well. So yeah, if you have any recipes, people that you follow that are good with bread, or you make it yourself and you have some tips for me, that would be great. I always like to learn and get better at things. So if you think the cinnamon buns are going to work, let me you can let me know that too in the comments. I know most of the people who watch me are very quiet people. They don't comment much, and but you know what? When you comment, it really helps the video go out to more people. When you put likes on it, thumbs up, depending on the media that you're using, thumbs up, likes, comments, all that stuff helps it go out to more people. Okay, let's get is that too much butter? That's not too much, I don't think. Maybe I should have even more. And I'm gonna wipe my finger off and spread some brown sugar and some regular sugar and some cinnamon. Actually, I'm not going to use regular sugar. I am going to use some, here, let me get all the brown stuff off. This is called xylitol. In Asian countries, this is real common. They put it in gum. In fact, I buy gum with xylitol because it helps to prevent cavities. Yeah, really. You think of sugar as causing cavities, but in this case, it actually helps prevent cavities. Okay, now we have a little cinnamon. And shake, shake, shake. I am not measuring, as you can tell. And cinnamon is sweet in itself. So when you want to add less sugar to something, you use cinnamon. That really works well. Okay, we are going to start doing this. We're going to make it tight. Tight. Oh, and I hope we can salvage this. I hope we can salvage it and make something that is not too dry. Okay. Or should I have made 12? You know what? I don't know. I'm just going to start doing it, and it's going to be what it's going to be. You like my method? It is what it is. See, that's way too that's way too big. Oh, bless my heart. I didn't set out planning to do might have to eat this. Planning to do cinnamon buns. So we will make do with what we have. We'll improvise. If we have too many, we'll make them fit. We don't have too many. We don't have enough. Oh dear. I guess I should have my act together better, but so maybe I can get one more out of this one. Have not all perfectly sized, you know, hey, it is what it is. We'll put the smaller ones in the middle there. Oh dear. Okay. And we are going to cover this. And I'm just going to go ahead and use plastic wrap instead of a tea towel this time. And we're going to put this out on the sun porch. Here they are. Okay, different sizes. And I'm going to pause while these rise. We are back with the finished product. The bread is still cooling, and I don't want to cut it until it's completely cool. But here are the cinnamon buns. And as you can tell, those two wee little ones that were in the middle, I've already eaten. And they turned out really good. I'm glad I decided to do half cinnamon rolls. And you know what? While the bread was rising, baking, I prayed for you. You know, Jesus says that he is the bread of life. Bread is essential, and Jesus said that he is the bread of life, signifying that he is essential and that he can satisfy your deepest needs and your deepest longings. And the song came to me while I was seeking God, while this was, while we were on pause, and it was, "Fill my cup, Lord. I lift it up, Lord. Come and quench the thirsting of my soul. Bread of heaven, feed me till I want no more. Here's my cup, fill it up, and make me whole." And you know what? I prayed that over you. Today, you might be longing, you might feel a bit empty, you might have needs, and you might need the bread of life. So just offer up your cup to the Lord today and let him fill it. Let him fill it. Here's my cup, Lord. Fill it up, Lord. Come and quench this thirsting of my soul. Bread of heaven, feed me till I want no more. Here's my cup. Fill it up and make me whole. Let him make you whole today. Let him fill your cup. Let him give you the bread of life. God bless you. Until next time, I love you. Take care. Bye-bye.